Hi everyone, the time is 7 a.m. in Boston, so let's get started. Welcome to another webinar organized by C&C. I'm Jean Kirepina. I'm a market access scientist at C&C. We're a specialist market access firm devoted to building stronger pharmaceutical markets in emerging markets. We arrange these webinars to share specialist knowledge in the areas of pharmacoeconomics, market access, pricing and reimbursement. As always, it's a pleasure to introduce Tanya Stezhka, Managing Editor, Journal of Medical Economics. Tanya kindly agreed to share her thoughts on what makes a great paper from an editorial and a reviewer perspective. Tanya has been with the Taylor & Francis Group editorial team based in London since 2013. She currently manages the Journal of Medical Economics and also the Expert Review of Pharmacoeconomics and Outcomes Research. On today's webinar, we have a diverse group of colleagues that have registered, including from the US, Japan, Portugal, Argentina, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, India, the UK, Brazil, Burkina Faso, Malaysia, Zambia and Tanzania. Thank you all for connecting. We really appreciate your participation. So without further delay, Tanya, over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for inviting Taylor & Francis to present to you today about publishing from an editorial perspective. And thank you, listeners, for joining us from around the world. I think a couple of you had to get up quite early for this, so I hope it proves useful. As you can see, we'll be recording this webinar, so if it all goes well, it will be available online in a couple of days, possibly tomorrow, and I'll get that sent round to everybody. So, as was introduced, my name is Tanya Stezhka. I'm the Managing Editor of Journal of Medical Economics and an expert review title, Expert Review of Pharmacoeconomics and Outcomes Research. Here's my email address for any sort of pre-submission inquiries, but we'll circulate the slides after the presentation also. So our medical portfolio joined Taylor & Francis in May 2015. We're a specialist publisher of pharmaceutical, life science and clinical medicine information, with a portfolio that includes more than 3.5 million pages of research and analysis across 180 journals. Taylor & Francis publishes over 2,000 journals as a whole and across a range of subjects from medicine and healthcare to engineering, politics, social sciences, art and even jazz. However, our service remains personal and each medical journal has a dedicated editor on hand to answer queries, and all editors aim to get back to queries within 24 hours. So over the next few slides, I'll cover what we as the editors are looking for in a paper and how you, the authors, can make sure your paper passes peer review and there are no unnecessary delays. So I'll cover how to get your paper through initial review, which is done in-house, how to get your paper through peer review, how to get a quick decision following revision, and how to measure and improve the reach of your paper post-publication. So, what we like to see. Our editorial teams consist of our editors-in-chief, editorial board members, and in-house publisher and managing editors. However, most initial decisions are often made by our in-house editors, as we see hundreds of manuscripts a year. So to avoid getting rejected on submission, we recommend the following. Be aware of the scope of the journal, as papers out of scope are quickly rejected. However, if we feel it's a great paper, we'll try and refer authors to a more appropriate journal in our portfolio. So feel free to email us with titles or abstracts if you're not 100% sure, and we'll work out where your manuscript fits best. We consider all manuscript types, original research, reviews, editorials, so get in contact. We prefer manuscripts in our house style, which is all detailed in the instructions for authors on journal homepages. However, a novel conclusion, a new drug or device will take importance over formatting, which can be tweaked on revision. Please make sure objectives are clearly stated in the abstract and your English is at a high standard. We have in-house language editing teams to help with this if necessary. Regarding references, if we see too much data on file in your text, you'll get rejected with the request that the data be published before we accept a paper into peer review, as reviewers will pick up on this too. Funding and competing interest disclosures are essential for each submission, and we can't send a paper to review without them. Any poorly organised papers or papers that add nothing to the literature, such as confirmatory studies and small preliminary studies, are generally rejected or referred to our open access title, Journal of Drug Assessment. Same with small sample sizes with the expert collection, which is our clinical review series. As we don't publish much original research, higher impact studies are given priority, so we recommend another appropriate sister journal. Duplicate publication can be a problem, and we ask that if you're preparing a sub-analysis of a primary piece of research, please let us know in the cover letter where the areas of overlap will lie. And finally, too much self-citation raises a red flag and will ask for rationale. We welcome any papers with medical writing assistance or pharma sponsorship, company sponsorship, but it will need to be disclosed at this stage, at submission stage. So an insight into peer review. Our peer reviewers are experts, well published, and have deep experience. Their biggest criticism of industry-sponsored papers is that they're aimed at promoting a product. So you see that at the top of the list, our most common comment is that the paper reads like a marketing piece. We suggest that you don't get overexcited and that you let the data speak for itself. Be careful of the language you're using and avoid a marketing tone. So using the word significant should always be backed up by a p-value or a confidence interval. And if you have a good product, its merits will shine through without embellishment. So don't overreach conclusions. Be transparent. Reviewers will uncover hidden data or gaps and punish you for it. State your objective clearly in the abstract in introduction and return to it throughout the paper in the conclusion, as reviewers like to see a story. Peer reviewers will be very aware of the literature base on a topic, so when large contradictory studies are not acknowledged, even to show how they're not relevant to the direction of your paper, the reviewers will punish you for it. Please avoid obvious conclusions and expected results that add nothing new to the literature. And ensure that the analysis you've performed is the correct type for the data you've collected. Also, be transparent about how you've included and excluded data, patients, or papers, and give clarifications if you've included or excluded something unusual. References should be relevant, recent, and include all cited information. And again, please avoid saying a result is significant without the p-value to back it up, as reviewers will tell you to tone down your language. So once you've received your comments and you've made changes to your manuscript and sent it back to us as a resubmission, we'll go through your changes. So how can you ensure that you get a quick response to your revisions? Please make sure you reply to all comments, even if it's to say that you've done as requested and where, and this goes for any repeating comments across reviewers. Please always use track changes or highlight your text so we can review changes made quickly. Give a clearly laid out point-by-point response. If a query or comment is unclear, we're always happy to discuss this with you. Just give us an email or a call. We understand that delays happen, so if you need an extension, just drop us an email too. Things that will slow down a decision or possibly trigger re-review. The most obvious is not adequately addressing comments, missing some out, or not explaining why changes weren't made. We need a reasonable rationale for not making the requested changes, so no change needed is not an acceptable response, and we'll ask you to expand on that. Including new data, such as analyses or tables, isn't a bad thing, but will mean further review is required. And finally, research moves quickly, so if you take too long to revise, we usually say around 3 or 4 months, your paper could end up back in review to check that the data is still relevant. So once it's past its resubmission, we've checked over and it's been accepted, how can we measure the impact of an article? So you're fully aware of impact factors to measure the quality of a journal, but we also have following tools we can use to maximize the impact on an article-by-article basis. So across Taylor & Francis, we use altmetrics, which is a measure of who's talking about your paper and where. For example, if your article's been tweeted or if it's been picked up in a press release, blogs or news websites, you'll be able to quickly see where this was, how many times and how often, and how far it's gotten. We've partnered with a company called Kudos, which allows us to work together to make your paper more accessible to the wider research community, whether that's rewriting abstracts into layman terms or composing tweets or LinkedIn posts. We've had some great feedback from authors so far. We have an accepted manuscripts online feature, which sees the untypeset version of your manuscript posted online within 3 days of acceptance, which quickly gives your paper a DOI and therefore makes it citable. We offer monthly newsletters to all our taylorandfrancis.com website members, and our key articles are promoted on our various social networking websites, and we encourage you to do the same. We also have a range of sort of follow-up services that we offer. So we offer rapid publication for time-sensitive research that you need to disseminate quickly. Submission to online publication we make sure happens in as little as 3 weeks. We offer extra circulation, which is where your article is sent to an in-house list of relevant specialists. Article accepted manuscript online I've already covered. Sponsor focus. There are options to unlock your article and bring it in front of the paywall for 6 months, 12 months, or permanently. And this differs from open access, as you have the option to put the article back behind the paywall if you'd like to, and copyright doesn't transfer, so no other third party can use or repurpose the content for commercial purposes. We offer a range of supplement options, and our author services website gives you a lot of information if you'd like to explore that further. So these are just some of the highlights of the medical portfolio. As mentioned before, I manage the Journal of Medical Economics. We also have a range of clinical titles with the Expert Opinion Series, which is from all stages of the research and development pipeline. And we've also taken on postgraduate medicine, hospital practice, and sports physician medicine too. I might unmute you at this point because I'm finished, and I welcome any questions. Let me just unmute you all. If anyone has a question, feel free to type, or I can unmute you right now. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay.
Can you all still hear me?
You are no longer muted. Can you all still hear me?
Tanya, it's João here. I had a question regarding the peer review process. So is there a policy at the JME on how to avoid potential conflicts of interest that may exist at the reviewer level with the work that is being published or submitted for review by the author?
So if they themselves have conflicts of interest regarding
for example,
the paper, we do ask all reviewers to disclose any conflicts of interest when they submit their review, and this will be highlighted on the published manuscript once it's been accepted. So in the transparency disclosure on all of our published work, we have that JME reviewers on this paper have no conflicts of interest to disclose. If that isn't the case, if there is a conflict of interest of some sort and it has been disclosed officially, then we will add that into the manuscript so readers can take that into account. Tomorrow.
That's great. Tanya, thanks so much for an insightful presentation. I really appreciate it. Like I said in the introduction, we arrange these webinars through C&C to share specialist knowledge in the areas of pharmacoeconomics, market access, pricing, and reimbursement. And often the world of the author and the world of a reviewer are so far apart. And I think what you've done in the presentation is brought them a little closer together in the sense that there are some logistical and administrative steps that authors could better self-manage in order to speed up the review process. So I think your presentation has been insightful in that sense, that it's brought some clarity and some transparency with respect to that process. So thank you all for connecting. We appreciate your attendance. If you'd like to be notified of future webinars, please be sure to subscribe to our newsletter on www.carapinion.com or call us directly at country code 1-617-300-0946. Thank you, Tanya, again for the presentation, and to your team, really appreciate it, and enjoy what remains of your day. Take care.
Thanks very much for having me. Goodbye.